I'm Lorraine Ballard Morrill. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be talking about organ donation because the first week in August is National Minority Donor Awareness Week. And the reason why we're doing this is that it's so important for folks in our communities of color to be well educated about donor awareness and also about some of the myths and misconceptions about organ donors. So we've got some great people here, some of whom I've known over the many years, and I'm glad to have back. And we'll start at the very end with Tamar Ellensworth. She's a double lung recipient. Marquita Lewis, she's a donor mother. Phil Williams, PhD, kidney recipient. And former Marine, or maybe always a Marine, right? Is that how that works? Okay. Robin Woodson Ferguson, she's a living donor. Her brother, Mr. Tracy T. Woodson, who is a kidney recipient and also Doctor of Education. Danielle Hill, who is a registered nurse and also the heart transplant coordinator at Jefferson and also the mechanical circulatory support. And that's a mouthful. So anyway, we're going to be talking about the importance of just being a potential organ donor. I'm going to actually start with you, Danielle, and let's talk about the need. Now, Gift of Life, which is sponsoring this event here today, is a fantastic organization, a nonprofit that is the federally designated organ donation procurement organization serving people in the Delaware Valley. Why is it that we need organs?
That's a very good question. The need is great in this community, as in every community. As we know, the reality of life is that you live, and unfortunately, you will die. So those who are suffering from end-stage illnesses, who are on the list for different type of organs, are waiting for such a long time. So we need more people to definitely get on the wait list, the organ wait list, so that we can supply the need that is out there. The need is great.
And let's talk about why it's so important for communities of color to register as potential organ donors.
Absolutely. So community of colors definitely should register for organ donation because we, again, to increase that supply. We are, as far as African Americans, we are high on the wait list. So we definitely need more organs of color to assist with that supply, to increase that supply, but also when it comes to compatibility tissue and blood and those different types of things, we definitely would like for an increase in African American community as well as Hispanics and other minority communities to assist with that need.
Right. All right. So let's talk about the impact of organ donation. And I'm going to start with you, Marquita, because actually Tamar, because you are a double lung transplant recipient. Tell us what life was like before your transplant.
Well, Lorraine, I am, I started out with sarcoidosis. I had sarcoidosis for 11 years, and eventually my health began to decline. The lungs, they honeycomb, they get hard, filled with the scar tissue, and I had about 2 years before I would need a transplant. At the time, I was on oxygen. I was about 262 pounds, and so in order to qualify for transplant, I had to lose the weight. But I was on oxygen 24/7. I had a concentrator in my office. I had one at home, and I carried, oxygen with me. So I was really in end-stage lung disease.
Right. So you really needed those lungs.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So after the lung transplant, how is your life?
My life has improved greatly. I work out regularly. I'm able to do so many things that I was unable to do, even while I had sarcoidosis. You know, it was still limited because my lung function would drop, and I wasn't able to climb steps or do things. But I go everywhere, do everything. I go to the gym regularly, and I'm able to have a better quality of life.
Yeah. And lung transplants are relatively new in terms of transplantation. You know, we always hear about kidney transplants and even heart transplants, but the lung transplant is something that's a relatively new in terms of the whole history of transplantation, right?
Yes, yes. I'll be 10 years in September.
Wow.
So, and I'm part of, Facebook groups where people are 17 to 20 years out. So
Yeah.
we're living longer with double lungs.
That is fantastic. I'm going to turn to the brother and sister that are sitting to my left here, Robin and Tracy. So you're brother and sister, and you've got transplantation family big time. So let's talk to you, Robin, first. You are a living donor. Tell us what that is, first of all, and how you were able to save the life of a sibling.
A living donor is someone who, on their own, they decide to give the organ that they need to give to someone. Doesn't matter what the organ is. Well, yes, it does, because you can't give your heart. But it helps the person who is in need to have a better quality of life a lot sooner. Because, like in this situation with my sister Nancy that I donated to 25 years ago, had I not donated to her, she would have still been on a dialysis list,
Right.
a waiting list. And to see someone having to stay on that list and endure dialysis time and time again, it's heartbreaking.
It's tough.
So the fact that you were able to sacrifice your life, and like at the time I was in the military. I'm retired Air Force. At the time, they didn't know much about transplants. And I pretty much had to tell them, look, if I'm going to sacrifice my life for this country, I sure as heck will do it for my sister.
Wow.
So it was a no-brainer for me when she mentioned it to the family that she needed a kidney.
And you were lucky enough to be a match.
There's 9 of us. And
No, okay.
Out of 9 of us, yes.
Well, so it actually turned out that within your family, this was not a one-time thing. So let's talk to Tracy.
Yes.
You are also a recipient, and
Yes.
another sister in your large family of 9 was able to be a living donor for you. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was back in 2002. I had no idea that I was in need of a kidney. It just jumped on me. I was 42 years old, and it was just happened one summer in August of 2002, and I just fell ill, and I took myself to the hospital, and they said, you need to go on dialysis, you need a new kidney. And much like what Robin did, my sister Linda said, you can have mine.
How'd you feel about that?
You don't. I still get emotional about it
Yeah.
because when you're on dialysis, when you're going through dialysis 3 days a week, 4 hours each session, you're not thinking about how do I ask? You know, I know my sister Robin, I see all the wonderful people here. Lorraine, can I have your kidney is not something that is easy to say.
Right.
You know, I can say, Lorraine, can I borrow $5? Can I borrow $10? You don't borrow a kidney. You don't borrow a lung. You don't borrow a heart or any other organ that can be transplanted. So it's a difficult conversation to have. But with Linda, she said, well, you can have mine. It's not something that you expect. It's not you get emotional, and it's
Right.
like, okay, but still, it's what do you mean? You're going to give me a kidney?
Yeah.
So we went through the procedure. She went through the procedure, and it was September 17th, 2003, that she gave me the gift of life.
That is wonderful. Well, we'll get back to you two in just a moment, but I'd like to turn to Phil, Dr. Phil.
Hoorah.
Yeah, Ura. So I assume that as a Marine that you were pretty good shape and, you know, all that good stuff. So was it a bit of a surprise when you found out that you needed to be a recipient of an organ?
It was a great surprise. It happened right here in Philadelphia. You know, Gary Papa has before he passed away, he had a 5K race
Yes.
dedicated to men. And I ran that 5K race every year. And that particular day, I had brought along a couple of my kids, teachers, the first time they had never ran. And I had planned on kind of beating the clock, as they say that day. And after I'm running, I'm coming back, and it's a 5K. So my goal is to run 15 minutes. And I didn't have a kick that day. Came back, and I said, look, I'm feeling pretty good. I can still run. And went to the doctor, and I had a 700 blood sugar.
Mm.
No one in my family had high blood pressure, anything.
So that was a shock for you.
It was a shock for me because now I'm in the learning mode phase. I'm learning what in the world is sugar. I'm thinking that everyone says sugar because you grow up, everybody loves sugar. But running was my life along with the Marine Corps. My wonderful family. I have 3 beautiful kids. I have a wonderful wife of 30 years. They've been at the finish line when I ran the Philadelphia Marathon 10 times, the Broad Street Run. They have always been there. And then I needed them. But as Tracy say, how do you ask someone who's in the Marine Corps, in the Navy, Air
Right.
Force, who all volunteer to take a test to give you a kidney?
Oh, really? Wow.
Your neighbors and family.
Oh, that must have been amazing to get that outpouring of support.
But it's a very humbling feeling when you cannot bring yourself to say yes, to them. And eventually I got sicker because I refused to ask.
You're such a guy.
It's a guy.
Am I right?
You're absolutely right.
But and yet, so you are a kidney transplant recipient.
I was, and it was straight out of Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood couldn't make it up, but it's really right out of Hollywood. We was leaving to go to Houston. I got a phone call coming over the bridge, and they said, we have a possible kidney for you. Could you please come up to University of Penn at 2:00? Made it up to the security. They said, leave your car here and go upstairs. And upstairs, 12:00, I received a kidney.
So that was bang.
I
boom,
mean,
and
just
that was it.
it was
It was quick
just like
and
that.
sudden. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's an amazing story, and it's also amazing, and it's interesting. There's, I guess it's called an altruistic kidney donor or organ donor or kidney donor, probably most likely, and those are people that will give a kidney to a stranger or a friend. They're not related, but they will be willing to give up a kidney for that person. And it sounded like you had a lot of people who were willing to do that for you, which is pretty amazing.
Really was pretty amazing. But I received a kidney from a terrific family. It was a cadaver kidney, and I had the wonderful pleasure of meeting the family,
Oh, how
grandparents,
nice. Yeah.
brothers and sisters, everyone. Come to find out, we had something in common that we were really close by. And I have a freshman at Widener University, Keanu, who is a international wrestler, and I received a kidney from their son, who was a wrestler. So I'm not saying that I am the biggest wrestler, but I will wrestle.
Well, let me tell you, when you say that you did a 5K in 15 minutes, I do a 5K in an hour and 10 minutes, okay? I'm just saying. Listen, I'm going to move on to Marquita. Marquita, thank you so much for being here, as you always are. You are a donor mother, and I want you to share your story for us, for those who don't know it.
Oh, thank you, Miss Lorraine. You know I love you. I love being here. And every time I see you, you make me smile. So my son, Marquise Wood, he had an asthma attack and went into cardiac arrest. We just celebrated 5 years on June the 7th. So this 5th year has been really hard for me. He would have been graduating high school this year, turning 18. So, it's been really hard for me. But the one thing that always keeps me smiling is the fact that as I sat in that hospital, I decided to donate his organs, and he was able to save 3 lives. And that all 3 of these young men are doing all the things they should be doing. And that makes me smile every single day.
One of the things that makes you so special is that you go out and you talk about your story, And you've also been to, were they the donor games? They're like the Olympics for donor families and donor recipients. And you get a chance to really connect with other people that have done what you've done.
Yes, it's really important to me. I am actually the chairperson of Hearts of Gold, which is all donor families, and we meet once a month at Gift of Life. And you know, my goal is just to let them know that what we did, we should be proud of. You know, it sucks that it had to be our loved one, but what we did, we have to be proud of. A lot of loved ones have already put it on their license, you know, and their family members didn't know. And they should hold on to the fact that, you know, they decided one day that they wanted to be heroes. So, you know, my goal is to make sure all my other donor families are smiling and understanding that what we did, we should always be proud of.
Absolutely. And I think that a death in a family is never easy, and it's never easy to get over. But it does provide some level of comfort knowing that that donor family or recipient family, those families were able to have their children grow up and go on and live because of what your son was able to do.
Yes, and like I said, that's my goal with all my donor families. Even when I'm at the transplant games or I'm at the donor dash or anywhere that donor families are, you know, I need to let them know that what we did was good and that we should always smile about it. And even when I talk to recipients, you know, I want them to know that we bounce back. You know, we're very happy with our decision and our loved one's decision who put it on their license. And we want them to live very good lives. So it's very important that they know that the donor families are in a good spot.
Yeah. I thank you for sharing that with us,
Thank
Marquita.
you.
It's always great to hear you speak. And I have to say that I have on my license that I'm a donor. I also have a living will. So I made it very clear. And I think that's so important, isn't it? To let people know that these are your wishes, that, you know, I've let all my family know that if worst came to worst, that I would want to be a donor. And I wonder if you can talk about, let's talk about some of the myths, because there are so many of these myths. And Danielle, I wonder if we can talk about it. You know, like a lot of people, and particularly in communities of color, believe that, you know, if you agree to donate your organs, the hospital staff won't work hard, right, to save your
Yes,
life. And we know that
absolutely.
as a matter of fact, they go overboard.
Overboard.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, the importance of the organ itself is the perfusion of the organ. So we actually go above and beyond to save your life because we want to keep that organ alive. We want to keep you alive.
Right.
But if we had to use that organ has to stay well, you know, well circulated, well perfused, and the timing needs to be there as far as getting it to a recipient donor. So we actually go above and beyond. We use every intervention we possibly could use to save your life.
Right.
So your life is primary. And then unfortunately, if we cannot save your life, we definitely will, you know, go forward with
Right.
procuring.
And I wonder if you can walk us through what the process is. So you're in a situation where there is a donor, potential donor, and you talk to the family. It's not the doctor that normally treats the patient, right? It's going to be someone separate, and it will be someone from Gift of Life that
Correct.
will also be there.
Correct.
So that there can be a really thoughtful conversation with people who really know what to say and what information needs to be conveyed, right? It's not like,
Correct.
you know,
Correct.
you go, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but here you go. It's not that simple.
Absolutely, absolutely. So from an inpatient perspective, once we come to the conclusion that this is a patient who would be a wonderful donor, we will contact Gift of Life. They have wonderful representatives who are well trained, who will come to the bedside, and they pretty much take over the care from there. They speak with the family. It's great if the family have that identified as an organ donor on their licensure, and if they have spoken with their family about the decision. But sometimes we don't have patients who have that ability or who have that clearly stated. So Gift of Life representatives are great with having that conversation. They give the family time, the patient's family time to think about it. it's amazing.
Yeah.
And after that, then we kind of follow Gift of Life personnel. We follow their routine as far as what the next step is from
Yeah.
there.
It's a very thoughtful and
Very
respectful
thoughtful.
process.
Absolutely. And it's at the pace of the family.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
And there are also lots of questions that they might have. For instance, some folks are wondering whether, an open casket funeral is not an option, but in fact it is. That's
Yes.
not a problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Open casket is an option for most deceased patients. We definitely take care as far as the procurement opportunities or the procurement procedure rather. We take care of making sure that the patient is well together,
Right.
and once we take the organs, we do so carefully.
Right, right, exactly. All right, let's talk about life for you guys. I mean, you must be a very close family.
Very close.
Very close, yeah, yeah. I mean, it sounds like there was like no hesitation. It was, this is the need, I'm going to do it. Now, for those who are wondering, because I have several friends who've donated a kidney, one to her mother and another to a brother. And people might wonder, well, what's the impact of donating a kidney? We do know that we have two, and we can live with one. Well, tell us more about that. What's the process like?
You go through a lot of blood work. One thing I used to joke with people about, from the rooter to the tutor, everything is checked because they want to make sure that that kidney is healthy for the recipient. So they want to make sure there's no underlying health issues from the donor that would impact the recipient. And if there is, then they do it in a way that you don't feel bad about it. The other thing, too, is you want to make sure that your mind is right about it, because there are some people who want to do it, but then there are some people who feel like they're pressured to do it. The system has a way of allowing you to have an outlet so that you nor the recipient feel bad about it.
Right.
So it's worth it. I can honestly say if I could do it again, I would, but I need my kidney. So,
Yeah, you're at your limit in the donation category.
well, but if God forbid, if it's my time, then whatever I have, it goes to whoever needs it.
Well, that's the thing that's so wonderful about organ donation is that the potential of saving many people's lives is tremendous. And not only can you save people's lives, but you can improve the lives, right, Marquita?
Yes.
Tell us, like you can help as many as 8 people or maybe as many as 50. You can save the lives of 8. And
You can save the life of up to 8 people, and you can enhance the life of up to 100 people with organ and tissue donation.
Right, right.
And one of the reasons that I do a lot of volunteering with the Gift of Life is because I didn't like the fact that 52% of the people waiting for kidneys were African American and Latino, but we're the ones that don't want to get educated about it. They're building dialysis centers in all our neighborhoods. Everybody has diabetes and sugar is high, but we don't want to get educated on how important it is to become an organ donor. You never know what side of the fence you're going to find yourself on, and getting educated about it doesn't really hurt anyone.
Right.
Education is the key to your whole life. If you're not educated, you don't know stuff, you're a blank. So, my volunteering is to go out into every part of our community and, speak the awareness on how important it is, not just talk about my handsome hero, Marquise, but, to try to get us to understand how important it is. If everyone that I talk to knows at least someone in their family with diabetes or high blood pressure, but do you understand what can happen after that? I thought I was educated about asthma. I thought I had everything going. I knew when he was, needed his treatments, but no one ever said to me, well, what happens is he stops breathing, and I should have took more steps to be more educated on what happens after he stops breathing. Well, people have to get more educated on how important organ donation is in our community, in the African American community, in the Latino community. If not,
There's so many
It's-
lives that could be saved.
So
And there's-
many,
yeah.
so many, and one of them could be your own brother and sister,
Yeah, absolutely, or your child.
or your child.
Yeah.
And we have to get educated. And I will not stop until all of Philadelphia, Delaware, and New Jersey is educated.
I have no doubt about that. Tamar, one of the things that people might ask themselves, is it against my religion or am I too old? I mean, those are things that, for instance, you can't be too old, right? It's just not a problem.
Well, when I transplanted, I was 46, and I transplanted with a gentleman who was 72.
Wow.
And I was a ambulatory ECMO. I was on life support, waiting for a match, and I was there for 3 months, and he was out in 3 weeks. So no, I don't believe that I believe that it's the condition of your body,
Right.
excuse me, and how amenable you are to taking care of that organ, because that's very important.
Absolutely.
Well, the liver can live for a long time, so it's possible if someone passes away at 80, their liver could be good and split and help, 2 other people. So, those are just excuses that people use to not get educated on how important it is.
Right.
My son had a beautiful funeral. He looked very beautiful in his all-white polo. A lot of people there didn't even, know he was an organ donor at the time. So, these are just myths that, as long as I keep talking, hopefully that I can, get those out of there. We all used to believe if you walk under a ladder, you'll have 7 years of bad luck. You break a glass. These are just myths, and myths are made up stories so that someone doesn't have to deal with the reality. I've spoken at masjids. I have plenty of Muslim friends who are organ donors.
Right.
I know other religions who are organ donors. I actually just spoke with a guy who was in our convenience store, and he was Buddhist, and he seen my green bracelet. And he said, "Is that an organ donor bracelet?" And I said, "Yeah, my son, I donated his organs." And he said, "I'm an organ donor." And
There
I'm
you go.
thinking, whoa,
A Buddhist.
a Buddhist.
Okay.
So it's if you pray to a God that doesn't want you to save a life, I don't really think that. I think that you should pray to someone else.
I gotcha. All right, Phil, how much did you know about organ donation before you were in this situation?
Not much at all. I came from a military background. So in the military background, it wasn't really until 2001 when really the military, at least the Marine Corps, actually came up with a policy when it came to donation of any type. So my goal was to stay in the best shape. You try to eat the best food. But one of the things you learn as part of this Gift for Life program is that they came to me, and at the University of Penn, they gave me a little pamphlet. I said, "Look, I'm going to read this pamphlet, and then all of a sudden I met this young lady at the Gift for Life program. She gave me a wonderful tour of the place, and now I understand. I also sit on UNOS, which is the national board for that right policy. And I was really concerned about not only my health after I received a kidney, but the goal is not only to educate those in this wonderful region, because believe it or not, Region 2 is the number one in this wonderful country for as donors. We have some of the most terrific individuals who donate, period, anywhere in the world. And my goal is to have this wonderful community continue to understand why. What is it that you need to understand about kidney donation? And I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
I can see that. Hoorah. Okay, so Danielle, let's talk about how you can let people know and how you can become a potential organ donor.
Absolutely. So letting people know, again, going back to what Ms. Marquita expressed, is that education is key. We have to get into the communities, no matter where we go. If we go into the churches, if we go into the social halls, wherever, we have to educate. That is very important. We have to dispel all of those myths that unfortunately have gone over generations and generations, just with healthcare in general,
Right. There's a long history in the African African American
Absolutely,
community
absolutely.
of being betrayed by the medical
Absolutely.
establishment. So
Absolutely.
that suspicion is grounded in history.
Absolutely. So we have to go back and kind of do damage control
Mm-hmm.
and to, take away all of those myths that have occurred. But to get our population and get the communities that actually become organ donors is very easy. If you have a license of any kind, just a click of a button, and $1 donation will get you an organ donor on your license. Or if you do not have a licensure, if you have a state ID, you can also register through that. You can also go online to Gift of Life. And again, this is just very easy. Click up a button and become registered as an organ donor.
Right. You can Google Gift of Life, but I think the website is Donors One. Donors One.
Yes.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
dot org. Right.
Yes.
I know this by heart. Right.
Very easy.
Yeah. Very easy to do.
Miss
And-
Lorraine,
yes.
I would encourage everyone to even go to the Gift of Life website. They have so many incentives on education. They have seminars they do at the office. They have grants that they'll give to organizations, church faiths that is, that will come in and will educate you on it, and you receive money for it. I believe they just got one for universities and schools. Money where you can get incentives to have someone come out and teach education on organ donation. They really have some great programs, and I would just encourage everyone to go to the Gift of Life website and see where you can fit in to get educated.
Phil, how long ago did you get your kidney transplant?
My first kidney transplant was 2003. My second was in 2016 on my son's birthday, September 7th. So it's, and everything is going well. My sister Linda, who was my initial donor back in 2003, is doing just great. She's retired, chasing after her grandchildren, and is doing a wonderful job. She's healthy, and I couldn't be more happier for her.
Phil, what are some of the milestones that you've been able to celebrate since 2003?
Well, let me just say, since 2003, I've earned my master's, I've earned my doctorate. I've watched my son graduate from law school. I've watched my daughter graduate and attend the University of Tampa. So there are a lot of milestones along my life. Just celebrated my wife's 60th birthday the other day. So there's a lot of wonderful things that I am grateful for the donor and the Gift of Life program, because without that, I would not be here. I know that.
Yeah.
As a principal at a middle school, I work full time. I just didn't want to sit around. I'm not that person. I'm not a Marine, but I'm not I'm not one to sit down. So right before my transplant, I was not in a good way, but the transplant changed everything. I don't unfortunately know who was the donor for my second transplant. That's unfortunate. I've tried to make contact, but you wait and you hope to make contact. One of the things that was said earlier about education, once you do become a donor, it's crucial. It is very, very crucial to let your family and friends know.
Yes.
Let everyone know. It is great to be a donor. It's nice to have that heart on your driver's license, but you have to let family know. In the hospital is not the time for them to find out, because the emotions run the gamut, and things could be lost. So when you sign up to be an organ donor, make it part of your life. I'm a donor. Put it on your Facebook page. I'm a donor. Put it Instagram, whatever it is. Let everyone know I'm a donor, and certainly dispel these myths that have been going on far too long.
Far too long. Marquita, I just want to take a minute to talk about your son, because he's in your heart every day and your family's heart. Can you kind of describe him for us so we can kind of get a picture of who he was?
Well, he was as cute as his mom.
Uh-huh.
So, I have two other children. Older son who's 23, and my baby girl is 11. And, Marquise was just my rock. I have lupus. Anytime I was sick, he was the one who wanted to stay home and take care of me. He probably just didn't want to go to school, but, he wanted to stay home and take care of me. Mother's Day, he always made sure I had waffles. He was like the caring kid. The oldest one is a brat, so he's just like, Mom. And baby girl, she's just the baby girl. She's got all these brothers, so she's like whatever. But Marquise had a really big heart, along with those pretty eyelashes. His heart was just really big. It wasn't nothing that he would do for me, my mom, my grandmom. I mean, he loved my grandmom, and even on his dad's side, it wasn't nothing. He loved the beach. He loved going to Atlantic City. I have no idea why, but he loved that beach. I actually was just looking at a picture of him the other day, and it was from the beach. And I was like, maybe I should go down to Atlantic City and hang out on the beach for a little while, you know. But he was just a really great kid. He suffered from his asthma his whole life. So we spent a lot of time at CHOP. But never would I have thought it would come to that. But like I say, if God thought that he could take care of him better than me, then I'll let him go.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was an awesome kid. He would have been graduating this year, like I said. He had 3 amazing friends who still reach out to me. They're in college now. One of them just graduated this year. So they make me feel really good that still after 5 years that they remember Marquise.
Yes, and 3 people live on because of his
Yes,
tremendous
and I'm very
gift.
blessed, to know all 3 young men.
Really?
They're all doing very, very well.
Yeah.
We have a foundation that we started. We give out free CPR training to asthmatic families, and we do a lot of asthma awareness in our schools. So, between the gift of life and my foundation, it's keeping me smiling. Marquise always said he wanted to be an internet sensation, but he never did anything. So I guess he's making me an internet sensation.
Well, he certainly is alive. You make him. You make him alive for all of us.
Thank you,
And
Miss Lorraine.
We thank you for all that you do. Tamar, any final words you'd like to share with our listeners, our viewers?
Yes, get educated. I work in a place where when I disclosed that I was a double lung transplant, they said I didn't know they did that. And then I began to hear stories about, well, if the myths that, if you need a lung or you need an organ, that they'll just take someone's random organ as if it's so easy to have a match. And after sitting on life support for a week, waiting for a set of lungs, it's important to know. I work in higher education. It's important to read up and research and find out these things because you may need an organ one day and you need to know exactly what's entailed.
Absolutely. Phil, any words, final?
Yes. One of the great things about education is that we go around every day learning something new. And kidney transplants and transplant in history, we learned that if we can help one another, and now we begin to understand the sharing bond that we have. I'm a blessed individual. I have a wonderful wife, Dina, of 30 years. My daughter, Kelani, graduated from Rutgers. I can never say, my wonderful son, Chris, I can never say, they all wanted to be part of this. And they do everything they can with their friends to let them know. The Donor Dash. My son still has the hero, that he wears, that cape that they give out.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever seen a big 6'3" guy be walking around with this cape? He loves and everyone asks him, what is this? And he tells them about why he has it and what they can do about donations. And that's what we're here for. And that's why we want to make sure we educate and pass on that word on what this is really all about, not what the myth is all about.
Right.
I would never talk about the myth because the goal is not to
To reinforce
Absolutely
all that
not.
bad
Not at all.
information. Robin, what do you have to say?
The one thing I would say as far as being a living donor, there's nothing to fear. The one thing people would always ask me, well, what happens to your body? I'm like, I'm not turning into the letter C. I can still stand up. Your body will adjust. But not just for kidneys, your liver. There are people who are in need, and you can do this for them. Not only yourself, if you don't match the person that you wanted to donate to, they have chains, and they've had expanded chains where people from all over the country have participated in, and lives were changed, lives were saved. So be a living donor. You don't have to wait to pass. If you are capable of doing it now and you are healthy, do that for somebody.
I have to ask you about your pin, both of you.
Yes.
It looks like half a pin.
Yes.
You have to describe why.
My half says, what does it say? I gave the gift of life.
Mm.
And his says, I received the gift of life.
Ah, so it's two
Yes.
halves that make a whole.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool.
I
Tracy,
like 'em.
what are your final words?
Well, again, I'm very grateful for the donors in my life. My sister Linda, and then this young man. I believe he was 23 years old from California. So my kidney traveled across country. That's all I know. But I'm very grateful for the wonderful people that have already donated. One of the things that I've done since my recent kidney transplant is speak, just like Marquita, to young folks. As a principal in a middle school, I go to the high schools and talk to the new kids that have gotten their driver's license, and this is the last thing you're going to do. I give them the PowerPoint presentation about what it is to be on dialysis, and show them what I went through and how they could save a life. So I'm very involved advocating for people becoming donors, and I'm also grateful for my wonderful family. There's 6 girls and 3 boys, and I know my mother and father in heaven are very happy with what we've done. But again, to the wonderful folks at Gift of Life, thank you very much for all that you do. And for everyone, please, education, education, education. Talk to your friends.
All right, and Danielle.
From a clinician perspective, I can't reiterate education. Education, education. Over 100,000 people are on the wait list for organs. And if we could possibly get that number down, if we could eliminate some of those who unfortunately will die while they wait for an organ, and to see the testimonies of these 3 individuals here and so many more who live such a quality life.
Yeah.
It's not so much about quantity, how many years I can give you, but about quality. You can meet those milestones. You can see your son graduate. You can do all of these wonderful things that you could not do years before or prior to your organ donation. If others can see these testimonies,
Yeah.
then definitely we want you also to become a part of this. You and your family and your community. Education is key.
Absolutely, and you really make a great point, and really it was nice to hear what Tracy had to say about the things that he was able to experience because he's here. He had the kidney transplant. I look to my old friend J. Wyatt Mondesire, who is the president of the NAACP. He was on the list to get a kidney, but he passed away before he was able to get one. And I miss this guy so much. And I think, wow, he would be reveling in the times that are happening right now. He would be a leader. He would be organizing us. He would get us moving. And I think of what the missing place is for this guy who was such a great leader who was waiting for a kidney transplant but was not able to get one in time. So I have a very vested interest in making sure that people are aware and that they are registered as an organ donor. Get it on your license, not hard to do. I have a living will. It's all stated. I've let all my family members know, all my friends know. And Gift of Life is really there to help. And I want to thank Leslie Jean Marie, who's Multicultural Outreach Coordinator for Gift of Life, for helping to organize all of this. And I want to thank all of you. Marquita, I'm going to give you the last word.
As a proud donor mom, I just really want everyone to get educated in our African American and Latino community. The kidneys are hitting us hard. And we have to get educated on, 1, how to take care of ourselves, and 2, what's going to happen if such we need, you need a kidney, a liver, a heart. I'm very proud of my decision that I made to donate my son's organs. I'm very blessed to know all three of these young men are doing everything they should be doing. Hello, Noah. Hello, Keith. Hello, Nathaniel. And, I just want everyone to get educated. It really means a lot to me to see all these people I meet who are having a second chance at life and doing everything that they should be doing. And it really makes me smile. And we have to get together as a community and educate and get educated. And like I said, the Gift of Life website has so many incentives on how you can get educated and have someone come and talk to you. I really encourage everyone to go on their website and take a look at it.
And that is donors1.org.
Yes.
Or you can Google Gift of Life.
Donors1.org, or you can just Google Gift of Life.
Yes. All right. We encourage everyone to do that. I want to thank all of you. Tamar Ellensworth, who's a double lung recipient. Marquita Lewis, a donor mother. Phil Williams, PhD, kidney recipient. Robin Woodson and Tracy T. Woodson, living donor and recipient. And of course, Danielle Hill, who is at Jefferson University. She's a heart transplant coordinator at Jefferson. We want to thank Gift of Life for doing all the great things that you're doing to raise awareness and making sure that people are able to live lives that are long and full thanks to organ donation. So once again, check out donors1.org. I'm Lorraine Ballard Morrill. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.